Nordo in for PA. Vocal maintenance days in play. And in studio now, Ben Leber at Nacho Leber. You can hear him, of course, on the fan all over the place. Power Trip Morning Show, 9 to noon, bumper to bumper, once or twice a year, even with the Grum. And you can watch him on Twin Cities Live in the afternoons. He and Elizabeth. How did it go yesterday? The Bat Boy bit.
It went really, really well. It went well. I'll tell this backstory that of what happened yesterday morning, because at 8:40 every morning we have a Twin Cities Live call. We talk about the day's show. We talk about just different facets of the show and how we're going to organize things. And we're bringing this up. So I pitched a whole team on what the whole thing really is about. And the discussion was, do we need to let our audience know, our Twin Cities Live audience, our viewers know what's going on? And I was like, well, I don't think that's really part of the bit. The whole bit is that we're all just going to play this straight. You and I, Elizabeth, are not going to crack. We're not going to laugh. We're not going to play into this like, oh my gosh, this is so funny. We're just going to treat Zach as if he's just Zach Halverson as normal, and he's our sports expert for the day. We're not going to acknowledge anything about what he's wearing and what he looks like. So the discussion, we actually had a pretty healthy discussion internally, just like, well, is that fair to our viewers? We get a lot of calls and emails when they don't like certain things that we do.
I bet.
Much like you guys on your text line and emails, I'm sure people let you know pretty immediately that they don't like something or an opinion. Well, we get the same thing. So we're trying to be respectful of like, well, we don't want people just to get mad and tune out because they don't understand what's going on. So we compromised. I was in the party in the group of, who cares? Yeah. Like, it's just a bit.
Just let it run.
We got a lot of longtime fans that they're not going to tune out or be mad at us, because the whole idea was in the next block, as we close out the show, we have a minute to basically explain everything that just happened and why you saw what you just saw in the block before. So I was in that camp. We had others on the team that were in the other camp of like, nah, listen, like the perspective is, the viewers weren't in on the bet. The viewers didn't lose the bet. Like they shouldn't be punished for losing the bet because they weren't a part of it.
Right. And,
the Power Trip and Corey, they did a great job of promoting it on their airwaves. So we were going to have a group of people that don't normally watch our show that know the bit. So there's a small percentage out there that actually know the bit, and they're just watching, just like we are, to see if he cracks or if we crack. So that's really the idea. The essence of the joke is, can he get through the whole segment without laughing, making fun of himself, or us laughing as well? And it's not on the viewers, because some of the viewers are going to know anyway. So we mentioned at the top of the 4 o'clock that, hey, things are going to get weird. We have this segment coming up next, and then like it's almost like, hey, wink, wink, trust us. Things are going to get weird, but there's a reason behind it. You're going to find out here later in the show. So that's the only tease that we did. Everything was executed. Zach did a great job. And then again, we had about 45 seconds at the very, very end of the show to say what this was. This was a fantasy football punishment. He lost the fantasy football challenge, and this is what he has to do. This is what he's got to do at the Saints game. He's doing a partnership with the Saints. So we explained the whole thing. So I think everything's smoothed over. But I did have a few people on X reach out to me and just be like, "You ruined it. You ruined the bit. You had it going, and then Leber had to go because of the intro."
Oh.
And I just want everybody to know out there, like, that was very much intentional. And Corey and Chris and everybody was like, no, they had to do that.
Yeah.
Like, they got to respect their viewers as well too. And so they understood that we couldn't have everybody be clueless. We just had to have everybody know at least we understand there's some debauchery going on today.
Well, and we experienced it. I mean, first of all, this wasn't like Orson Welles' War of the Worlds here. I mean, there was some trickery and a little bit of fooling or in fun going on, but this wasn't necessarily the most consequential thing.
Right.
Zach dressed like a bat boy. I mean, I was sitting behind the glass over there prepping for the show yesterday, watching him get made up. Kenzie, I think is her name. She did a terrific job. I mean, it just looked preposterous.
It looked ridiculous.
It was awful. first segment of the show, she wasn't quite done, so I'm trying to open up. I just can't stop looking at this monstrosity across the table from me. It was crazy. But we do experience, whether, and I bet of all our shows, Common probably gets it the most, where he'll be running a bit. He'll, senior staff writer gets him armed with something good on a Tuesday, and he'll roll with it for a half hour and, reeling people in and all of that. But I would imagine, especially if he did ultimately explain it on the back end, like it was a fun, harmless, and like you said, it went off like a hitch. I think Zach did a great job.
Yeah, he did a great job. And I do want to give a special recognition to our director, Scotty, who, when I say director, he's in charge of the camera shots that we're doing, and he's in charge of having our camera operators do what they do. So we had he's not a part of our morning meetings. So I didn't know, I wasn't thinking about the fun things that he could do just with the camera.
Yeah.
But he took it upon himself to understand what the bit was and just keep zooming in super close to his face. I mean, he did a Wayne's World super close up several times that was just perfect because again, it wasn't zany in and out but it was like right on him. And it was like the full screen is just his bat boy face. And, I think that really helped kind of make it a little more punchy as well. So we tried to trip him up. We threw in a few things. Like I asked him, if he was going to fly over to the Dublin and London games and how long that would take. And he paused and he was like, you could see him thinking like, do I answer this as a bat or do I answer this as a human being? And so he's like,
he was confused.
Yeah. He's like, it's going to, take me the normal time it takes to fly over there. And then Elizabeth asked him, because we were talking about the Saints and the Vikings and the Wild. And she's like, if you had your choice, like, where would you like to hang out? Like, what's your best hangout spot?
That, yeah.
And, again, a little, we tried to probe him a little bit to see if he would crack, and he didn't. He did a good job.
He stood tall. If people haven't seen it, is there a venue for them to find it?
Yeah. All of our episodes, all of our daily TV shows are up, and they're easily archivable at twincitieslive.com. So you can go out like 30 minutes after every show. We post everything and we break it up into each segment. So you can just click individually on that segment and watch and share as much as you like.
Find Bat Boy, twincitieslive.com. So Brett and I were talking last segment, and the creativity that goes into, this is a unique segment with the Bat Boy bit and the payoff and all of that. But he was talking about quote unquote the sports abyss, and the summertime for us is generally going to be the least eventful time. Really, this next month, right?
Yeah.
You've mentioned it just from a Viking standpoint, and your long career in the NFL is. This time of year, really up through the 4th, right? You get to chill a little bit, and then it's back to business. Well, is there a time of the year where it's either plug and play, like this holiday's coming up, or XYZ event, and so you and Elizabeth and those that assist you in that creative process, like this is plug and play. I can write this show in my freaking sleep, versus a time where it's like, can we get the Bat Boy back?
I know.
Can we do the Bat Boy thing again? Is there a time like that?
That's a great question. We don't have a lot of lulls in the year where we have sort of a food, fashion, fun abyss. We're trying to be topical and current to everything that's going on in and around the state, and even around even Western Wisconsin and a little bit to Iowa, but. Yeah, we don't really have that and then the thing is, like, we will interject purposefully in like these themed shows. Like today we're doing a whole show on camping, and the whole show for 90 minutes is going to be on camping and camping around the state and stuff like that. So,
are you a camper?
No, I love the idea of camping. I can't say that I would be a good camper. I'm one of those people that will watch Naked and Afraid and think I can do that. I would watch Alone and feel like I could do that.
Alone is an elite show.
It's an elite show, right? And
but let's be honest, right?
Let's be honest. I think that if I The reason I say that is because I think if I had the skills, if somebody would teach me the skills, and not just like a weekend class, but like if I grew up, let's say, as an Eagle Scout and I practiced some of the stuff here and there as just a hobby, like if I really was a camper and I really didn't know how to make fire on my own and catch and prep things and build shelter, I think that I think I have the mental fortitude to make it, which, as you know, watching those shows, it's less really about the skill and more about like, can you handle it mentally?
Yeah.
Can you handle the mental day to day of just like always preparing, always thinking ahead, always scavenging, doing that stuff? I think I could do that part, but I got to work on the skill part because I don't know how to do jack squat. And I'm kind of a softie when it comes to mosquitoes and bugs.
Oh, I get itchy.
I don't want to be out there camping and just have to be swatting gnats and mosquitoes the whole time.
Yeah. No, I would, because there was a guy from Minnesota. I want to say it was like Rush City or something, north of the metro. He was on one of the first seasons of it, and I think he finished second, but he made it like nearly 2 months out there.
No kidding.
Yeah, and so elite skills, and so I would have no problem if I need to sit like wet and dirty from the rain and stuff. Don't care about all that. Maybe but as soon if I went 3-4 days without catching a fish, or I just had a real bad beat on a squirrel or something like that, I'm out. This is stupid. My life's not actually on the line here. This is a contest. I would get so mad and emotional about it that my trapping skills, again, the skills would be is a place where I'm heavily lacking as well. So, when's your segment on? When is it pool season now too?
Yeah, we this whole summer is
like we top 10 above ground pools. Is that a segment?
Not only will we talk about the size of above ground pools, but we'll talk about locations and the proper place to put them. And
what your neighbors think of it.
And what your neighbors think. Because absolutely. Because even though it's your private property, sometimes you do have to think about your neighbors. Sometimes.
We were talking, again, going backwards to go forwards, Jair Alexander, a little Vikings bite that he is signing with the Ravens. And we had kind of mentioned, it felt like maybe more a gun for hire for the Minnesota Vikings, maybe closer to camp. They're confident in the secondary. Maybe rubes like me are not quite as confident just by reading the names. But, now that there is this layoff, you're probably not spending segment after segment talking about this Twin Cities Live, but what interests you during kind of this down period in terms of just dream weaving what the Purple are going to look like once training camp kicks off next month?
Well, I'll tell you right now what all the front office people are thinking right now, what they're concerned about, and what the player development guy is concerned about is everybody please stay out of trouble.
Yeah.
This is the time of year where you do not want the Minnesota Vikings player or personnel to reset the arrest calendar or the tracker on Pro Football Talk, which I don't think they do that anymore. But,
well, the team hasn't won Super Bowls, but they've been among the elites in that category at various times.
Yeah. When you're left to your devices and you have a lot of resources, i.e. money in your pocket, you've got a ton of free time, and you have, I think the mentality to be a professional athlete, which can be a little loose and live life on the edge a little bit, you tend to make some mistakes, especially as a young kid. So first and foremost, let's hope that from this point in time, all the way to the check-in day, that these guys really do just stay out of trouble, have a good time. By all means, enjoy life. Do it safely. Do it legally. We don't need anybody in trouble to create a black eye. And no coach, especially the head coach and GM and the player development director, they don't need to be enjoying time with their family and get a phone call, at 9:00 at night as you're hanging out with your family, probably, 3, 4, 5 drinks in yourself.
Yeah.
And like, hey, so-and-so just got arrested. We need you back at the office.
Well, that's always tough too. I mean, you mentioned 9 p.m. Good luck with that. I mean, it's never a mid-afternoon call.
Oh,
it's going to be middle of the night and the phone's vibrating off the hook. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And some player, you got to go pick somebody up, and then there's an agent potentially, and text messages. Your night's completely ruined.
Completely ruined.
You bring that up, and it's I've heard about kind of the maturity and kind of the growth process entering his third season of Jordan Addison. So there's the A section news out there, whether I think it's July 11th or July 15th, one of those days. He's we're eventually getting some finality on the DUI case from a year ago. And I think it was Ben Gessling who may have reported it. We're still throwing out kind of that idea of 3 games. There might be a suspension involved and all of that. But with that, he would be probably somebody that a fan might look at and like, just get through the summer this time. Okay, we got weird speeding ticket and emergency with the dog. We got the LA thing, potentially taking a nap on the highway. Terrible place to sleep. And then if we can just get through this summer, we should be feeling really good about Jordan Addison entering year 3. That's going to be a growth spot. And quiet kid. I wouldn't call him reclusive just because I don't know him, but it kind of feels like you know he's not the most boisterous cat in the locker room. But if we can just get Jordan to training camp, we might be in good shape.
I know we might be in good shape. I mean that really is. He's probably one. I'm sure there's others in the team that we just don't know about that maybe. They're kind of keeping their eye on and close tabs with their agents to make sure that they're doing the right thing. But yeah, I mean it'll be. Sort of, not game changing, but, I think his punishment is going to immediately have an impact on the start of the season. And let's look at this from a silver lining standpoint as we, if he's out for 3 games, we did go after, we got a rookie, draftee. We've got Rondale Moore. We've got some guys that, Speedy Naylor that is still going to be there. So I do think from a talent standpoint, we'll be okay, right? Yeah. Clearly, he's at a little bit different level than those guys, and it's going to be nice to have him back. But if he's out for 3 games, we could really get some guys that get a lot of reps. We could really see some separation there and who's going to be the true number 3 whenever he comes back. Who we can use where in certain situations. I really, really hope that Rondale Moore can be that guy, just because I like his skill set. But at the same time, it's another arrow in our quiver that we could implement as we go to Dublin and London, where those teams haven't seen him yet this year. Like they don't know what our offense looks like with a full complement. And as of right now, they only have film from last year. They're not going to have film from the first 3 games. They're not going to know what McCarthy looks like with JJ and a full complement of wide receivers. So I don't know. I mean, kind of looking at this from a crazy silver lining standpoint, maybe it's like a little secret weapon that we can unveil once we get to Dublin. They're like, all right, he's back. Now we have this other package. Now we have these other options that you guys couldn't plan for from watching the previous games, and we're going to unleash it on you guys, and best of luck.
Man, I'm excited because Addison's so talented. And I know, again, not great what occurred in LA. I'm still not entirely sure of all the details that go into it. And it's newsy because it's current. And again, we're going to hear the end of this thing eventually. But I feel like with him, and there's some optimism here that we're past that. You know what I mean? Because in a lot of ways, you mentioned, other guys, et cetera. There's really a fine line and a fine line between making a mistake, but then making a mistake and getting caught for it. And there's a fine line there, but there's this broad spectrum of how we react to it. We all know individuals who have made certain decisions that we would not make in our own lives, but there's a massive difference, not in the mistake, but there's a massive difference in how it's perceived simply by nature of were they caught and ultimately held accountable for it. And so, he's got this to wear a little bit from the last year, but I'm feeling the maturity and the growth and the super talented. He is going to be our secret week 4 weapon. That's going to be that's not bad.
It's not bad.
It's going to be great. You mentioned Rondale though. If he's healthy,
yes.
And they were only kind of starting to get beyond the surface with Rondale in Arizona, and then of course the tough injury in Atlanta once he was moved. He could be really fun at this offense.
I know.
He's so sweet, bowling ball built, but super shifty and strong, can catch and run. Like that's a fun weapon to jump into if we're able to get the most out of Rondale.
I know. That's the thing. It's like, man, I loved everything about him coming out of the draft during that process. And I'm like, man, if you get him in the right system and he has a free run as a slot guy, as a number 3 guy, and he has a 2-way go, on a nickel corner or something, maybe you catch a team with a small safety or something on him. No chance. You have no chance.
Yeah.
I know that sometimes he's not going to be the primary receiver, but I'm hoping that in certain situations that he is the primary. That, when we expect double teams on Justin and we expect certain coverage on Jordan, that you have him one-on-one with his cat-like reflexes in his thicker build, that he's going to get the separation. He's going to be hard to tackle. And so I'm hoping that he can get a lot of catches. I'm hoping he can develop and stay healthy in the system.
And picture that space that could open up over the middle if you are pulling people with JJ and Addison, of course, as well.
I know. I'm very excited.
Okay.
Again, for the potential. Again.
You called this the abyss, Brett. This is exciting now.
This is exciting stuff, Brett.
We're about to get to see Rondale.
Yeah, I can't wait to see him against that Packers secondary. See what they can do against him. There's not a guy, and they don't have a secondary good enough to cover all three of our guys. Plus,
Nate Hobbs, though.
You get Hawkinson back. He's gonna be fully healthy. I don't know, Brett, man. I know it's probably too early to start shaking in your boots, but I'd start lacing those things up pretty tight.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be a tough one for you. Best of luck.
It's gonna be
Jeff
nerve-wracking.
Halfley. Maury Amsterdam guy says Bat Boy on a loan would be elite television. You picture him trying to take care of himself out there?
Listen, just Zach by himself with no face paint would be epic on a loan.
What am I going to do?
I really think that they need to do that.
That would be fun.
They should have just like, they had the Pros versus Joes show on TV a long time ago. Like, they need to take just average people that have no business being out there on a loan and just teach them how to use a camera and just chronicle how long they can make it. And for 48 hours.
Yeah.
I don't even, and then obviously you have rescue teams close by, but can average Joe, which I would probably consider me an average Joe, don't know, I don't have any survival skills.
Right. From an outdoor standpoint.
What am I going to do out there? I'm not trying to make it months. I'm trying to make it days.
Yeah.
If that.
If it would be fun. It's tough now because in the litigious world that we live in,
sure. I'd sign all the waivers.
Like digital content, I absolutely would. And I'd love to do it. I mean, even at a more base level, I'd love to have the Captain Billy Hildebrand teach me some stuff about pheasant hunting or fishing or these sorts of things. But if we were going to do something like that, it'd be unbelievable and it'd be fun and awesome. But you mentioned rescue teams and stuff. The mothership might just be out on that. Because one of us, okay, my item, I'm going to pick a hatchet, and then suddenly I'm missing part of my thumb.
So I don't know which season this was of Alone. Did you see that guy put the arrow through his thigh?
No, I did not.
He had a legit.
How do you shoot yourself with an arrow?
He was climbing through some brush and he was carrying, I don't know if he was carrying his arrow because he was on something like a bird or something that. So he's crawling through and he was tripping over stuff and he just basically inadvertently stabbed himself. And that was it. Game over. He was out.
Yeah, you have to leave.
He was out. And it was thank God I didn't hit my artery and all this other stuff. But
oh my goodness. That's satellite phones.
That's what that would happen to me.
We got Sauce out there trying to boil water.
Could you imagine Sauce and Zach
fire with a ferro rod? Come on.
Out trying to do Alone? That would be the best content ever.
Well, I'm going to run it by the corner office, and we're going to see what happens.
Yeah, it doesn't even have to be in the wilderness. It could just be at, I don't know. We'll find a forest.
Yeah, just like an open field, maybe with a water source. And see, we could bring foam. I mean, we got to have obviously inflatable mattresses and potential.
No.
Oh,
you got to do what they do on the show. Well, they give you a little goodie bag of survival stuff, in a duffel bag, and they just drop you off and say go be.
I got to reconsider this.
Yeah, go be a man.
Okay,
maybe that's their fantasy football challenge next year.
Go be a man.
Yeah, you got to go get dropped off and try to survive for 48 hours.
And then they have a GoPro like they did on the show.
Yeah, they got their phone. They got a phone charger.
And they have to, on the hour, they have to offer up some sort of, let's call it like a 90-second video that they can produce, and we get updates, and we push it on social.
Yeah.
48 hours?
Yeah.
That's a brilliant idea.
Alone. Yeah. Power trip alone.
Zach's got a bad track record in that game, though.
The best, though. I mean,
so he should just start preparing now.
You start prepping right now.
That's Ben Leber in studio. We'll jump back to football around the corner, of course, but it's Nordo for PA 9 to noon on a Thursday. Thanks for listening.
Check out our contest page now to see how you could win a pair of passes to an advanced screening of Jurassic World Rebirth, starring Scarlett Johansson and Jonathan Bailey, in theaters July 2nd. KFAN.com, keyword contest, enter today.
Personal foul. Clipping.
It's a covenant cleanup.
Welcome back, 9 to noon, Nordo for PA. Ben Leber in studio for another segment. Lavelli Neal III in studio at 11. It is a Thursday. Let me hit you with this. Just dumb football talkers that hit me in the head, and now I'm going to hit you with them. If I said the Broncos look AFC title game bound, am I an idiot? Because it pains me to do it. It pains me, and PA and I were talking about this a week or two ago. What Peyton did with Bo Nix is terrific.
Yeah.
And getting better on defense, Jahdae Barron opposite Surtain II. Defensively, strong. I don't know much about the running back that they picked up, but they moved on from Javonte Williams, which was very much needed. Mm-hmm. If I said that the Broncos were AFC title game bound, am I an idiot or am I just projecting? But I really love what Peyton has done with Bo Nix and that team.
I think it's a stretch.
Okay.
But I don't think it's preposterous. I think that whole division, there's no guarantee that the Chiefs just easily walk out of the division as the division champs.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at what the Chargers are building, their defense is going to be strong once again. And, you know, with Justin Herbert, when that head coach and their ability, their desire now to be a little bit more ground and pound, and with Herbert's arm going deep, I don't see the Chiefs defense holding up against even the Chargers.
Yeah. Now, the Raiders are still the Raiders, right?
The Raiders are still the Raiders. I mean,
but Pete Carroll's going to go to work. I mean, he's not bad at this.
No, but I'd put them at the bottom of that division.
Sure.
I think it's going to be a real dogfight for who's going to come out of that division as number one. Because you could make the compelling argument that any one of those three remaining teams could win it and could surprise some people out, outside of the Chiefs. But like, it would not surprise me if Bo Nix and Sean Payton and Denver win that division. And now, as far as AFC champs, I don't know if I'd go that far, but who knows? You win your division, get in the playoffs. We say the same thing here with the Vikings. You win the division, you get in the playoffs, you host at least one home game. Things can happen. So I'm really excited to see what they can do out there. I mean, I know that we're all conditioned to not like Sean Payton, but we like George Payton.
We love George Payton.
I love George Payton, and I want him to do really well, and I want that staff to do really well. So I think that sort of trumps my hatred of Sean Payton. I'm
just trying to idealize some sort of parity in the league right now. I mean, because ultimately the Chiefs, what is it? It's 7 AFC title games in a row that they've gone to. And the Bills are the Bills. Bills are going to absolutely be in the mix and contend, and some way, somehow, they're going to find a way to fall right on their face at the worst possible time. And Bills Mafia, they're going to break a lot of tables, but they're coming back. They're going to love you, and no matter what you do, and they'll hug you when you come home with an L. The Ravens, very much. I'm just trying to find parity, and it just feels like of those teams and the Chiefs, are they a year older? Are they just inherently better because Rashee Rice is an option this year, and health plays into it? That defense feels like Spags. From a talent perspective, really getting a ton out of it, and that could be very easily broken and beaten. I'm just looking for parity, because on our side of the table, you can tell me if I'm wrong. I mean, maybe the Commanders, continue their ascension. I think they overperformed a bit last year. I think the Kitties come back a bit. I think you're dream weaving hard if you think the Niners are just going to revault themselves back into contention. I think it's kind of like the Eagles to lose right now.
Yeah.
And so, but on the AFC side, it feels like there might be a little bit more of an open window for teams that aren't coached by Andy Reid.
Yeah, and one team that sort of sticks out that is up there AFC wise is Houston. I think everybody likes what they have in their quarterback. I think everybody likes what they see in their head coach. I think they just need a little bit more time to get everything put together, but that's a solid football team,
And how about just stay healthy, by the way?
Well, the receivers staying healthy has got to be key for them.
With Tank Dell, and then Nico Collins misses like a ton of games with a hamstring. Stephon tears his ACL. And how much of that led then into what many, sophomore slump for CJ Stroud. Houston could be there. We're going to get to see him. We're going to get up close and personal and get all the bits with D'Amico Ryans. Don't you love joint practices?
I love it. Yeah, that is becoming the best part of preseason. It didn't take much to supersede the preseason games.
Yeah,
but the joint practices, oh man, the one-on-one battles. Again, I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it again to the Minnesota Vikings and everybody else out there listening and I have been on this perch saying this for the last 10 years, literally, maybe even longer than that, saying as long as I've been a part of the Minnesota Vikings, coming from the San Diego Chargers at the time, I thought this facet of training camp that they did, the way they handled it, should be implemented across the league. And I don't know why they don't do it. So they basically have a practice MC. So this practice MC who's basically just one of their media guys within the building that's there every day that knows all these players.
Okay.
He would get the practice schedule and the coaches would share the practice schedule with him. No, not the plays, but just the schedule. And he would locate all of the drills for all the fans. So he would be on a microphone over the loudspeaker and he would be saying, "Hey, everybody, welcome to training camp. This is what we have going on today. We're going to have a joint practice with the Houston Texans. They're led by blah, 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 blah." You set the stage. And then from there, you say, here's basically the run of practice. We're going to start practice. It's going to be a little chaotic. They're going to be stretching. We got the one team over here, one team over here. And then on those two fields, we've got the offense and defensive linemen over here. We got the receivers and cornerbacks over here. Running backs and quarterbacks are over here. They're going to be doing their fundamental stuff. Watch what, where you want to watch. And then, hey, when the horn blows and we're into period number 2, this is where it gets fun. We're going to have one-on-one pass rushing with their offensive line and our defensive front. And that's going to be on the southwest corner of field 3.
Yeah.
And then you go through the same thing, because what happens when you go to these practices is that there's all these drills, especially on our fields. There's four fields out there.
It's super chaotic and jumbled.
It's super chaotic. The grandstands are on one field. There might be a one-on-one drill, highly competitive drill on field number 4. Think you can see that?
No,
you can't. So if you want to make these training camp practices really eventful and entertaining, move the competitive periods intentionally close to the fans. If you want to have a pat and go and you want to have like a non-competitive period with one group, put them on field 4.
Yeah.
Put the wide receivers and defensive backs doing one-on-one drills. Put that right there on field 1, and you have a freaking MC that's there that's setting the scene. Hey, Justin Jefferson against their best corner is blah 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 blah. It's like, here we go. You're not cheering for it. You just lay out, just like, let's bring all eyes into this one particular drill. And I can tell you from a player standpoint, when I was in San Diego, dude, it brought so much juice to every single drill.
Really?
Because we would be in one corner and our guy would say, "Hey, everybody, this drill, here's the drill. We have the tight ends, we have the running backs. On this side, we have the linebackers, the inside linebackers, and the outside linebackers, and some safeties on this side. We're going to do a pass rush one-on-one. Here's the drill. They're going to get matched up. You're going to try to tag off on the coach that's holding the dummy. That's the quarterback. Dude, we got so jacked for that. Because that wasn't even against another team. We didn't have joint practices back then. That was this inter squad. So it's like, all right, here's Junior Seau against LaDainian Tomlinson.
Well, that's why he was hitting people without pads, because you had the MC. You were pumped.
But, it just brings a little extra something to these practices. It makes the players better because now they're a little bit more, emotionally involved in these drills. It brings the crowd into it a little bit more. I just think that you're there for entertainment purposes. That's the whole reason why you have open practices to the public. Then entertain them and help them out, be entertained. Because as you've been to practice, it's hard to watch practice.
Oh, are you kidding me?
There's so many things going on all different places. If you don't have a person directing your attention to a certain drill, then you have no idea what's going on.
PA would do that.
PA would 100% do that, and he'd be great at it.
We got archery over here, we got arts and crafts over here, and he's JJ!
Right. And then
the fans would go nuts for it.
And then you have these team periods, and you get both. Now you have 11 on 11. And then you've got all the players and coaches and stuff standing 20 yards behind, And then a play happens, and you have no idea what happened.
Yeah.
They hand off to the running back. They're touching off. They're thudding. The running back breaks through. He runs for 30 yards, and the crowd goes crazy. Oh, yeah! He scored a touchdown against these guys. He was tackled in the backfield. Right. I don't know if you saw that.
It was actually a loss of 3.
It was actually a loss of 3. But do you have any idea as a fan what that drill is? No. Is this a third and long drill? Because everything that we practice is situational. So is this a 1st and 10 drill? Is this a 2nd and 3rd and long drill? Is this a 2nd short drill? Is this a goal line period? So to go out there and to have no plan and no script for the audience, I think is a miss.
Inform and entertain. And that's what you guys do on Twin Cities Live. Thanks for hanging out, man.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
No bad boy segment today, though.
no bad.
Is that correct?
All camping today.
All camping.
Yeah, you want to know about camping in Minnesota? Tune in at 3.
That's awesome, man. Ben Leber, weekly guest, 9 to noon. Thanks as always for hanging out in studio. Some news is next in Lavelle at 11.
If you want to chime in what's happening with your favorite KFAN shows, you can make your voice heard on the Brad Sean Bryant KFAN text line. All you got to do, let us know what you have to say by texting your message to 64686. That is 64686. Standard text message and data rates apply.
News to Nord's always brought to you by The Casino at Canterbury Park, CanterburyPark.com. It's poker, blackjack, and sweet table games, and it goes on every day, all year long. So feel the felt. Of course, live racing is in play. Evening racing Saturday, Family Day Sunday. They have some midweek Wednesday night races as well. Opportunity to watch, wager, and win. The Casino at Canterbury Park, CanterburyPark.com. Where are we headed first in the news, Brett?
Number 1.
Well, the Twins, they lose again. 4-2 this time, the final.
Darn it.
I mean, it was, I think, through 6 innings.
Through 6, that's correct, yes.
Ober, that drops him to 4-4 with a 4.54 ERA. So, yeah, a little bit of suspended game terrorism, but still an L is an L. It'll count as far as the season tally. And the Twins now under 500, 36-37. I believe Paddock goes today.
Yeah, he does, and it's an early one. I think it's an 11:40 first pitch. And so it should be, we got 11:40 for our favorite team, and then a couple of nooners, and just streaming on a full day of baseball. So that's going to be fun today. And it is Chris Paddock, and it is a 6-game losing streak. And it is a situation where now, a couple times in a row, we're seeing that from a health standpoint, whatever Ober's working with, I think it's in the hip area that it is impacting him. It is limiting even some of the fundamentals of his mechanics. And is there help around the corner? And that'll be part of my conversation with Lavelle in terms of, is there help on the way? Does help exist as it pertains to the St. Paul Shuffle? So, but not good yesterday. And in some ways, just kind of jokingly, maybe it's nice. They took some reps off the bullpen with the early exit of the game due to weather. Hope it's better today. Hope Paddock and Paddock really, if you look at the numbers, I think he's only got a couple of wins. It's not a great record. And he's in that mid-lane area, ERA north of 4, somewhere in that area. But Paddock hangs on. Paddock, it's not pretty. He's not going to strike out 10, 12 games or 10, 12 guys in this game today. I hope I'm wrong. That'd be sweet. But it just feels like a lot of things have to go his way. And so you kind of got to ride a wave with him a little bit. But he's kind of been, I would say, in some ways, not a revelation, but a pleasant surprise to this staff in 2025. But it's a pleasant surprise amongst amid a lot of malaise, and that's really where we're at today. So I'm really rooting for Lavelle. I'm rooting Lavelle to come in here starting next segment and provide us with some positivity on the baseball team.
Number 2.
NBA Finals Game 6 tonight. That is a 7:30 tip. The Thunder lead the Pacers 3-2 in the series. The big question is, will Halliburton play? You really don't have a lot of answers. He said, if I can walk, I'm going to play. But we don't know if he can walk yet. So that's kind of the question mark going into this game, because without him, I think the Thunder stroll to a championship tonight.
Well, I was going to ask Leber about that, and it's kind of a dumb summertime question, but I'm just kind of picturing, we were mentioning Kachuk, right, and the adductor, and I think that's effectively like the groin muscle, but it's inner thigh. And it's torn off the bone, and he's a warrior, and he's playing, he's handling it. Bailey Ober, not that he is not a warrior, not that he is not strong. A lot of these guys play through injuries at a high level over the course of a season. You know, what the worst injury maybe that a Ben Leber ever played with? You know, Greenway, he's in studio tomorrow. He broke his ribs at one point. I think it was Brandon LaFell of the Patriots that just gave him a shot and maybe cracked a couple of 5-2's ribs. But with Halliburton, kind of the calf strain is absolutely going to torpedo some of his ability to explode, keep pace, pivot, run, all of that could affect his shot. So if he can walk, he's going to play. He was absolutely ineffective in terms of scoring in Game 5. So that's a massive problem from them. Siakam it's going to be a magical night from Siakam. It's going to be something offensively from Halliburton, but you're going to need Mathurin. You're going to need Neesmith in some of those moments. Bench production. That's what we've seen in Indy winning games in this series is finding a ton of points off the bench and getting that all around performance. And they're going to need that tonight. Did you say what they're favored by? OKC? You didn't have that in front of you?
I didn't have that in front of me.
That's all. Yeah. That's all good.
I'd imagine they're favored substantially.
No, they're favored by 6, but
okay.
But we won't probably find out if he's playing until the pregame warmups. But this is you need him here. He's made all the game-winning shots. Kind of disappeared first 2 games. Blew up Game 3. But Game 5 was an absolute stinker of stinkers, and we'll see how bad this calf is. You got one more, and then we'll pause?
I got one more.
Number 3.
We talk about the Wild trying to trade Rossi and whether they will or won't, and trying to find a center. Well, a name that was brought up to potentially bring into Minnesota, who I wasn't too crazy about because he's on definitely the back 9 of his career, if maybe not the last 3 holes. But Matt Duchene, who is a center, just signed a 4-year extension with the Dallas Stars. So another name potentially could have brought in to fill that center gap is now re-signed. And it begs the question, there's a reason why these centers don't get on the free agency market all that often. And you have to draft them, you have to develop them, and the Wild actually have drafted one and somewhat developed him, and they're looking to get rid of him. And it's just another example of they don't come around all that often, so if you got one, you might want to try to keep him.
I was actually intrigued by him being a potential option because, again, when you're looking at, who are you going to jump in, and Russo stated all of it very clearly and brilliantly during the opening segment today, eventually podcastable, free iHeartRadio app, that the pickings are slim And a guy like Duchesne, who had a terrific season for Dallas, albeit, like you said, later stages of his career, what would a contract like that look for? Now we know. It was 4 years. Do we have the money on it?
I don't have the money.
Well, what do you have?
No, it's 4 year, $18 million, so $4.5 million per year. There you go.
I could have stomached a deal like that. Could you have stomached a deal like that for a Matt Duchesne?
I don't know. He's getting up there. He's 34 years old. I don't know. I'm not really I'm not really interested with that.
It's tough on term. I'm not really exactly familiar with his health history. I know he has a connection with Heinze, but those are kind of some of the deals that I feel like that the Wild are most likely to be engaged in. And I thought he might be a name that the team could be interested in. And again, he had a terrific year with the Stars. Thank you for that. That's News to Nord, brought to you by Canterbury, the casino at Canterbury Park, CanterburyPark.com. That's Brett Blakemore producing 9 to noon today. I'm Nordo, and around the corner, Lavelli Neal III, giving us some positivity on the baseball team. Looking forward to that. This is The Fan.